That's my roommate.
Hi, my name's Ananya. I use she, her, hers pronouns. So thank you for having me. But thank you for coming out today. It's obviously pretty cold, but it's super important that we show this university and we show power that like this, that we care and that we're paying attention. And unlike that we have our own power. And unlike theirs, our power is made stronger by its depth, by its complexity, by the loves and ideas and stories that we hold inside ourselves. So today we're showing this institution that we will not be subdued.
Go in, poet!
When I was in the 4th grade, I read An Inconvenient Truth. You know, as 4th graders do. I stared at those photos for hours, pictures of South Brooklyn and Calcutta completely underwater. Pointed to glaciers coming and going on the page with my mama standing by. As a kid, those photos made me sad. Maybe it's because when we're kids, the big things like climate change scare us because we feel powerless. Or maybe it's because my mother taught me that if I trace my roots, I find ocean, salinated touch of creation dispersed through mangrove legs and marshes, come to the smell of the Atlantic. Briny and blue up my nostrils in summertime, the cold splash of something clean and familiar. I was born in the Northeast after all, wading through its water. I can't help but feel comforted by the ocean air the way my mother is with salt from the Bay of Bengal. My mother loves the ocean, respects it, but like my father, she never learned how to swim. They were taught that the ocean was hungry, dangerous, that it would swallow up their bodies like they do sweetness in the South. But me? I learned to swim at 7, like to joke about when the world would melt. I was cavalier, off the cuff with this climate change stuff. When I went kayaking on the Gowanus Canal as a kid, my cousin told me about the 2-headed fish they found in the Gowanus Canal. Kayaking on the Hudson, sorry. We both knew that its body had been twisted and mangled by its home, but we taunted each other, splashing each other with our oars, joking about whose body would be polluted first. My mother doesn't joke with the ocean, didn't smile when my father said Hurricane Sandy would be nothing. Women know what it is to have women know what it is to be soiled by hands stronger and more insidious than our own. My grandmother was taught that women were created to be subjected to violence. So how could the Earth's anger be any different than a world's? That night, we watched our lower Manhattan streets be swallowed as the wind yelled at us, light peach linen couches floating like buoys out into the great blue. But it was worse in the subcontinent. It always has been. And my lineage is closer to the water there. And the thing is, there is no FEMA for the third world because no one is trying to make sure you survive there. So I wonder, is it collective climate grief if some people go first? Do we get to mourn in New York and New Haven when Kolkata becomes steeped in saline? I can't help but sit by the Hudson and wonder how much of the family I don't know will lose their homes before I turn 40. Which temples will be waterlogged before I learn the language? Which villages will be fish towns before I scatter my mother's ashes? I told myself I would learn Bengali before I graduated college so that I could go back to my grandmother's land, get to see the earth the way that she did, get to eat that special freshwater fish we only get frozen here. It's my mother's favorite, you see. But lately, I've been wondering, what happens if I try to find my way home and it gets swallowed by water before I get there? What if I don't get to learn Bengali before the Bay of Bengal comes for us? What if the only place I find my mother's lullaby melodies, Me Iski Sonama, who is in the textbooks that predate my great-grandmother's life? What if you bury us in prehistory? Turn our swamps and rivers into a primitive Atlantis? There is something irrevocable about the earth coming for us. These things about the British and the Americans, this university right here in New Haven, the way it has turned us into the empire's subject, and then subjected us to all that violence. All of that, I think we can survive, because there is always some place to come back to. there is always some place to salvage, but if you send my people back to the earth, is this the final damning colonial act? Or is it a gift to take the land away from us so it cannot be soiled anymore? If I lose the land my parents came from, I wonder if I lose my name, if my body departs. I wonder how far I must wander from the seashore before I lose my face, before my heritage becomes suspended in the gloss and glue of storytelling, if my people's history reverts to mythology. Now I am thinking of Bengal and Bangladesh, but I am also thinking of Battery Park and South Florida, all the places that will be swallowed soon by water. And I am thinking of the stories my parents told me about the things their countries did to women like my grandmother, like me. Like when a woman was widowed, she was required to drown herself, to surrender herself, to breathe in blue. If my homeland leaves me, if my people in all their iterations leave me, the question is if I am drowning myself or if you are drowning me.
All right, I know that she did way better than that. Cheers. So one more time.